So
95% of the stuff that he performed on, yes, I thoroughly loved, except for that Batman's fascist line, because to me it felt like it was a cheap joke.
but it from the character and from his point of view, I think it works in the world. It doesn't have to be accurate for it to work.
Because technically he should be looking at Superman as a true fascist works for the government, but that's a different story.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Heroes Peak podcast. I am your host, Chris, and we are here to talk about Blue Beetle this week. And with me, we have our regular, our Rock of Gibraltar. It's James. How you doing?
It's Taco Tuesday. No lie,
get us in
really
trouble.
is.
Do not get us in trouble.
Sorry, LeBron and the community,
right.
my brown brothers.
No. I mean, it's the name of his uncle's truck.
It's a truck. You know what? I haven't heard much fanfare about it from people I actually know. But social media, changes perception. So
that's true. It does. Things can go real far out of nowhere for social media. Well, like I said, we're going to be talking Blue Beetle, which is not not a first launch of the new DCU, but it's technically part of the old DCU. But I believe James Gunn said he liked the movie and was bringing the actor and the character into the new DCU. So it's technically part of the new DCU.
That is correct.
Even though it's not part of the new DCU.
You're correct.
to keep things simple around here.
This is what I guess the Flash movie was trying to do, bridge the two.
Which it didn't do. Which it failed.
Which it didn't do. Yeah, it failed to do.
It just made it more confusing because it was like, oh, this is like every DC universe, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It was more of a it doesn't matter movie than it was a hey, this is what's coming next movie.
Exactly.
So anyway, we are talking. It just came out. It's in its second week. Second weekend.
Yeah, second week.
This past weekend.
This is third week now. Am I losing track? Yeah, it came out 2 Fridays ago. Not last Friday, the Friday before. Yeah.
I lose track of time very easily around here.
This Friday is about to be its third Friday in theaters.
Oh, okay. We're midweek, so it's going to be its third week. Okay,
yeah, my bad.
That makes more sense. All right, anyway. So this is directed by Angel Manuel Soto. I don't know any of his work. I looked it up. Written by Gareth Dunet Alcor. I don't know any of his work either. Sorry, guys.
You're doing good with the pronunciation, though. You're doing good. Doing well.
It's all guesses. It's those 4 years of middle school Spanish. Yes, my high school Spanish was basically middle school Spanish.
Middle school Spanish.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna try to run through the family. You guys all got to stay with me, or we're gonna end up with a great TikTok right here. All right, so we're starring Xolo Maridueña. You know him from Cobra Kai. He plays Amy.
Strike first, strike hard, strike fast.
What was the last season? Is that the last season of Cobra Kai? Are they done?
No, there's one more. There's one more season.
One more.
At least one more. They might do 2. Wait, hold on. Oh, God, you're right. No, they're coming back for one more season. Next season's their last season.
All right.
Sorry. All right. This is where we need Mike to do the behind-the-scenes research.
We need our man in the chair.
Yeah, right. 6th and final season. It's up and coming.
All right. Bruna Marquezine. So the K sounds like a K, even though it's QE. I really
the Brazilian actress who
that's right.
Who used to be dating Neymar, a very famous Brazilian soccer player.
Oh, I thought you were talking Namor from Black Panther.
No, not Namor. That's Namor. Without love.
Without love.
Neymar is different. That guy plays without love too on the soccer field, but
until he loves the grass, right? Rolls around.
Yeah. Right. My soccer fans will get that joke. Go ahead.
Uh, Melissa Escobedo plays his sister. She did a pretty good job here. But Damien Alcazar, his father. Adriana Barraza, the grandmother. George
Mm.
George Lopez, his uncle.
Mm.
He had a lot to do. This is like the comeback for
Yeah,
George
there's some
Lopez.
controversy with George Lopez in the Hispanic community, which I don't think this is the right platform to get into it. But let's just say he's not well liked.
We don't have any standing for that.
Yeah.
Elpidia Carrillo is the mother. She plays the mother. I'm trying. Going back.
Doing well.
And of course, Susan Sarandon for Victoria Corn.
Easy name right there.
Our bad guy, yeah.
Double
on the easy note. Susan Sarandon. Of course, someone's going to tell me, you have to pronounce the A long. It's Sarandon.
I think Susan Sarandon took a look at Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and what, I forgot our guy's name who played the High Evolutionary. I forgot the actor's name. She was like, hold my red wine.
I'm about to drop some bad,
some mustache evil villain twirling,
especially in that last flashback. Yeah, we're gonna drop some spoilers for this movie, just so you know.
Spoilers.
But let's start with this.
Spoilers.
I only went to this movie because we had our 8-year-old nephew with us for a rainy day, and we went, "What can we do?" And we're like, "Oh, that new Blue Beetle movie's out," and the kid loves Shazam, so he's into the DC.
My heart palpitation, my blood pressure just went up.
So I said, you know what? Let's go. Let's all head up to the theater and see Blue Beetle, and we did. And surprise of surprises, we had a good time watching it. What was your why did you go out and see Blue Beetle?
Well, shout out to Heroes Peak sub who I hung out with at Comic-Con, Sadler Ward. Based on his recommendation on social media, I figured, you know what, if he's saying it's good, because him and I have a lot of similar interests and dislikes for DC and Marvel, and when he was kind of standing behind it, I was like, all right, let me go ahead and click on this AMC button. And then lo and behold, guess what? It was $4 Sundays anyway.
Cinema Day!
So because of my AMC StubHub account plus $4, I paid $0. Nice. So I was extra thrilled to go see it. So that's the reason why I got out of my house to go see Blue Beetle, which the three of us, after the trailer first came out, we were like,
Ooh, right?
Yeah. So it's funny that at least the two of us so far went to go see it anyway.
Well, whatever brings you to the movie. Cinema Day, I ended up going watching the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible. Yeah. We won't get into that. So, but unfortunately, I guess the question is, what are they looking for? Right now, it's only at 82 million worldwide. Not gonna.
I thought it was higher. Damn it.
No, it's 46 million domestic, 35 million international. Now, we've had 2 weekends. It's got some decent word of mouth. Barbie is finally on its downswing. On its way to like 1.5 billion.
You have Labor Day weekend coming up too.
Yeah, 1.5 billion. There's nothing really big coming out, so it could have a solid weekend on this upcoming weekend and at least make its money back. But it's really a detail. It's DC. Like, DC doesn't have a name to stand on. I mean, this is following Black Adam and the last Shazam movie, and it didn't have great marketing. None of us were really all that interested, but it's got some good word of mouth, so maybe it's gonna pick up a bit, and at least James Gunn has said the character gonna come back, so I think that's good enough for what we'll see in the future. All right, what we got here? So, Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle's a DC character. It's been around a long time, since the 40s. I actually don't have the date in front of me.
I think 50s. Yeah, the 40s. The 40s can't be before that because that's only Batman and Superman.
Right. Yeah, and so it's really interesting that this character is it's always surprising me when DC characters come out of the woodwork and they're like, this thing's like 80 years old, and you're like, oh, really? I guess there's a lot of history behind it. So it's really interesting to see a character like this get its first spotlight.
Live action
Um,
spotlight, yeah.
yeah, live action spotlight, of course.
Yeah, I think this character is featured in one of the DC animated shows, if I'm not mistaken.
He's popped up and around the animated shows. He showed up
Teen
on some
Titans, maybe?
one of the CW live action shows in
Oh,
Florida.
okay. Yeah.
Real bad. But it gets better. I think they did the character some justice here. At least the new version of the character,
For sure, yeah.
which is about a an alien scarab shaped symbiote, basically, that attaches to somebody who's worthy and turns them into Iron Scarab.
Iron Scarab with like
Iron Scarab.
Green Lantern powers.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, that's the interesting thing about it being such an old character. Um, that you're like, wow, this is just like feels like a ripoff of like a dozen different superheroes, and you're like, no, because this thing's been around forever. So even
Yeah.
though you're like, well, it's Iron Man and it's Spider Man and it's this and it's that, and you're like, no, this thing's it may have had some adjustments and some updates and some changes, but it's an older character than that. So
I mean, the 50s, 60s, and early 70s are littered with superheroes from both Marvel and DC that feature an animal or insect based powers and sci fi tech. I mean, you can go through
right,
from Ant Man to you name it. I mean, everybody was just doing the same thing for that
right,
for those 30 years. That was the hottest thing to do.
yeah.
And then,
And I
of
heard
course, nuclear powers and stuff. But yeah,
right, yeah, anything with science.
yes,
Uh,
science.
so I heard recently that the reason he called it Blue Beetle was based off of Green Hornet. He basically heard Green Hornet and
Oh,
then went, oh, let me make up my own. Oh, Blue Beetle, whatever, right? I mean, when you're coming up with fresh ideas, you're like just looking for
that makes
anything.
sense for the older version of the character that they brought out in this movie in the third act.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. The
So
original version. So.
so what you got here is an evil corporation. At least at this point, it's evil. Cord Enterprises, run by Susan Sarandon's character. Um, After the death or disappearance of uh, what's his
Ted,
name, Ted
Ted,
Cord,
Ted Cord.
and they know all about this they know all about this Blue Beetle alien thing, and they're trying
Mm-hmm.
to turn it into a one man, what do they call it, one man army
One man
almost.
army. Rambo.
Yeah. So basically the Ant-Man plot. Um and
Yeah,
that's
you're
it.
right. Ant Man one.
And Jenny Cord does not want this to happen. She knows it's happening. It's not even a secret to her. She knows, you know, it's all public. They're trying to sell this technology. They don't tell anybody where they're getting it, but it's like nobody's hiding anything. That's the interesting thing
Yeah.
about this. It's not a secret. It's like Jenny Cord knows what she's doing. Susan Sarandon or Victoria Cord says, "Yeah, so what? Your dad's gone. I deserve the company anyway. I'm taking it where I want to." And so
Mm.
Jenny Cord, interesting to me, this character actually kicks this entire movie off in her little trying to stop her aunt, or is it her aunt, or it would be her like great aunt? Aunt.
Trying to stop her aunt. It's her aunt,
Yeah,
yeah. Her father's sister,
yeah.
yes.
Trying to stop them from making this Blue Beetle tech army. So, all right. So when this movie just kind of got started, let's go this way. We meet Jaime Reyes and the Reyes family as he gets off the plane from coming from school. This is like immediately makes you enter this film like you don't normally in a lot of other superhero movies. I felt instantly attached. They did a great job, and it's the characters, the actors did a wonderful job. What did you think about this family on first? and the world itself.
Yeah, just to go back, and I know this is supposed to be a quick peek, so my response is gonna cover the whole movie.
Yeah.
This universe felt like it's already been lived in, and we're now visiting it after it's already been established. Unlike the MCU Phase One or whatever we had in DCEFU WGY, because of certain things. Like for example, you mentioned the Cord Industries, which I guess similar to Lex Luthor, LexCorp, maybe whatnot. I didn't look for any of the cameos. I'm sure there's going to be tons of cameos of LexCorp and all that stuff. But I did notice the fact that you said that the Cords exist. In fact, the whole family, they make jokes about it. They're like, never trust a Cord, whatever. They're all like, capitalists, blah blah blah. But furthermore, I think in this world, in this universe, with Jaime as our front and center character, he's got the Gotham Law T-shirt on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you already know like the major figures kind of exist in this world. And then George Lopez's character, when they first go into the vault where the original Blue Beetle costume is, they talk about the Flash and Superman and all the other heroes. So I felt like this universe, it's already been established, and we're not watching it being birthed through these characters in this movie. So that gave me a sense of like, all right, so now I'm just going to focus on the story you're telling me. I'm not going to look out for too many which I didn't do. Honestly, I didn't bother, unless it was flat in my face, like the Gotham War T-shirt. I didn't really care for any like DC references, and like Black Adam was terrible. Like dude's comic book, the whole room was like DC IP.
Right.
So it was refreshing to watch this movie, knowing that after like for a good 25 minutes into it, that I'm just going to be focusing on this character and the story and the plot, and some of the action sequences, which is different than anything I've seen in DC. I mean, maybe the Suicide Squad, but that really was like a soft reboot of another version. I can't think of, not even Wonder Woman to me, which she had that the fish out of water type of vibe. Felt like I was just focusing on the character. Maybe okay, Wonder Woman. Yes, I'll give her that one. But
Man
I
of
can't think of
Steel.
anything else. Man of Steel, because that was a first. That was like their Iron Man,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
you have to focus. So, but that was refreshing, and I wonder what if before the demise of the TCFUWGY, what if they had more directors like this and more stories like this to push this Snyderverse stories a little more? Would we have been where we're at now? I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, I think
But
the hard part is that we got like so much Snyderverse, and then like one or two other things to lighten the mood. Like we didn't get enough between the other ones for
yeah,
me.
but I don't want to digress. The main point I'm trying to make is the setup and the opening first act of this movie felt like I was not watching a DC movie at all. It felt like a hybrid of Marvel, the MCU, but also like the CW shows,
Mm-hmm.
the good ones.
Right?
When
Yeah.
Arrow first came about and Flash first came out, it was very family, very hearty, very a lot of heart in the characters with Grant Gustin and his sidekicks.
Stargirl as well, I would say.
Stargirl, that first season, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I went off, but it was different.
Yeah, for me, and it travels throughout the entire movie. So for what stuck out to me comparatively, not only to uh, other DC movies, but other good superhero flicks or whatnot, is that the family stuck around. Like it wasn't, hey, this is a cool little group that you're going to get to know, but will only stay in this house. And then, unless Jamie's home, you're never going to see these people, right?
Good point.
They got to leave that space. They got to be a part of his entire journey. Um, Good,
I
bad,
mean, you
ugly.
could argue say Shazam did that in the first movie, to a certain level of success,
Well, I
but
think
not like this. Not like
no,
this
no,
movie.
no. In the first movie, it was kind of well. The idea was that the Shazamly was being made. These people aren't superheroes, but they're so tight knit that even though they're not that, they're still participating. And I liked the first Shazam, and it did some of this.
I did too.
But
It was decent.
what this has also, one of the qualities this has that missed out in something like Black Adam, is this has a point of view about the world. These people lived in the world, and it has, politically, socially, um, they're culturally, it's all there on the screen. Who these people are, what they think. Uh, there's a line in the trailer that says, "Batman's a fascist." His uncle George Lopez says that, and people groaned at it. But you have looking at it from a character beat, from a specific character who lives in a place that, very specifically in the movie, this place is where their living's being gentrified by a giant corporation. And so how would they view certain heroes like Batman, who sit up in Gotham and do their thing and don't help the little guy where they are? Or
that's not the definition of fascism.
I know,
I get it. I get why the line was dropped. It was to woohoo, yeah, we're down with the cause, blah blah blah.
It doesn't have to be accurate. It has to be, but this character was also like, oh, there's these. He was a conspiracy theorist.
Yes. So 95% of the stuff that he performed on, yes, I thoroughly loved, except for that Batman's fascist line, because to me it felt like it was a cheap joke.
But from the character and from his point of view, I think it works in the world. It doesn't have to be accurate.
Because technically, he should be looking at Superman as a true fascist who works for the government. But that's a different story. See,
I guess that depends.
Yeah. That was Chris. Let's not give him too much credit. They put that line for us, not for the character's development. It was for us. But I agree with you. The rest of his perception. And by the way, I didn't realize from the beginning how they showed George Lopez's character that he was some tech genius up until like the middle act of the movie. Like I thought he was just like a mechanic. He was like the crazy uncle in the Hispanic community that lives with either the mom or the dad, which is prevalent. But he went from like that character to like the man in the chair from Spider-Man to like the watchtower by the third act.
Well, he's the guy who makes the tech that you have to kick to get going, right? That's the funny part. Is it's not like he's out there.
Speaking of tech and having to kick,
yeah, he's not out there like fine tuning boards and coding. He's making an EMP basically, and in the back of his truck, and he's like, get moving, and
which was nice. That was a nice flavor. I like it.
Right. Yeah. So I think they did. I think that's the strongest part of the movie. It's where I would compare it to the reason I like Black Widow is a lot of the reasons I like this movie is I thought the family dynamic really lifted the entire thing up for me.
Wow. Quick disagreement with you there. I do agree that the family dynamic in Black Widow was some of the strongest that I've seen in MCU as far as a true family. I throw away Ant-Man, it's not relevant, whatever. However, Black Widow's storyline was just so subpar compared to this movie's storyline.
I'm not comparing the storyline. It was mainly just
but yes.
dynamic.
I think that family was probably the closest to a true family I've seen in the entire MCU saga.
Right.
I mean, when I say, biological family, there's man-made family like Guardians, which is probably the next closest. But they're all man-made, other than, I guess, now Mantis.
Yeah, I guess the only other family would be like Thor's family, but they're as dysfunctional as everyone.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
So anyway, okay, what did we think of the tech in this? The action, the suit, all of that stuff?
This was interesting. This is why I needed to see it a second time to formulate a better opinion. But since we're going live here, there were some hits and some misses for me. When he was in just the Blue Beetle suit, without all the full activation, I thought it was pretty well done. I thought it looked like it was a legit costume that they spent money on.
It was a
that
legit
was
costume.
believable. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like was believable in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Once we start getting into like the full CGI, the Blue Lantern, I will this super sword and this
The Buster
hammer.
Sword.
The
Whooping out the Buster
hammer,
Sword.
hammer was and then like the super laser, and then another laser on top of the first laser.
And the
I
double
just love it.
staplers.
The
Staplers.
double staplers. I was like, nah, they're not getting me with this. Like, this is reason why. Because originally, I don't know if you remember this. This might have been released on HBO Max and not in the theaters. This is during the
Yeah,
whole
they were going.
transition
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they
yeah.
canceled Batgirl. So for whatever reason, they said no. We're gonna go. We feel confident in this movie, which I guess they had the right to be. But I could see why it was being contemplated because it feels like this budget was probably like 100 to like 130 million
Yeah,
um,
I remember.
for this
Where,
movie.
where did I
I forget the
see that?
number, but I could definitely see it in a lot of the CGI where they were a little bit short. Not as bad as Flash,
No.
because Flash looked like they just gave up. They were like, "Fuck this shit." These folks look like they tried. Like you remember Black Panther, the first one and the third act, when
Yes.
there was some
Yes.
questionable CGI. That's what I felt with this movie. Like you're spending the money elsewhere and not on these particular CGI battles that are the crux of this character's fighting ability, right? He's not Batman. You're not seeing him in a beautiful suit, hand to hand, fist fighting. No,
He did it.
he's
Now they let Sholo do his Cobra Kai stuff.
that was one sequence. That
There
was
was
one
one, but
sequence.
they did let him do it at least once. So I do want to
Yeah, one
say
sequence.
do
Because
that.
then later on he does it again in the CGI aerial battle, but that's not really him.
Yeah,
That's
right,
like
right, exactly.
yeah.
So this is only $100 million budget.
Wow, I was even dude. I thought it. I said the minimum range was 100. So now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why it's the CGI. But
It's
I
fine.
think
I wasn't worried about it. It didn't.
it's not just his character. Like when his sister got her gauntlet,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
a lot of that stuff look low budget, look like a little bit above CW. And then the villain, what's his name? Red Beetle. Um,
Oh God.
that guy. That was terrible, dude. That was CW level. That was like Flash season 8 level of CGI.
Carapax. Carapax is
Carapax, thank
the
you.
bad guy.
Carapax's costume was terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
Like Flash season 8.
I don't think it's that bad. Flashy's name is like a little next level bad, but like we can talk about the bad guys here because it's really an
Yeah, let's do
important
it. It's
part.
supposed to be a quick peek. We're turning into a mid
This
peek.
is a full. This is a full. This is a full 15 minutes. 30 minutes. Oh shit! Or 20 some minutes.
Yeah.
Bad guys can make or break a superhero movie, as we've seen, right? And unfortunately, I think the biggest detriment to this movie is the bad guy. There's two technically. So you've got Susan Sarandon playing Victoria Cord, but she's just a figurehead. Not just a figurehead. She's making all the decisions. She is the actual menace, but
Yeah,
she
it's like
doesn't.
Lex and Doomsday, kind
Yeah,
of.
but she's not actually doing any of the fighting. Of course, they don't give her a suit, which I'm glad. We didn't get the suit Wonder Woman. You know,
She would have been Yellow Beetle,
Yellow
Yellow
Beetle
Wasp.
with a Hillary Clinton haircut or something. I'm glad
Oh
we
my
didn't get
god.
anything like
And the
that.
pantsuit.
The pantsuit bad guy. No, we got the Carapax who's basically a pawn, but he's equal the to the mirror of the Blue Beetle suit
Yeah,
because
yeah.
with
Notice
one-man
these
armies.
insect style bug superhero movies. The antagonist is always like a mirror image of the protagonist. Almost
Well,
always, not every time.
a lot of these first movies are like that. Even back to Iron Man being like that.
That's
Captain
true. That's true.
America. It's a lot of mirrors, and it's just a superhero thing that they do. But you can make them interesting. The Captain America, Red Skull is an interesting character outside of the fact that he has the super soldier serum, right? So
Hmm.
you could make Carapax interesting, and I think where this movie fell down for me is okay. So you've got this billionaire industrialist taking over this neighborhood. Okay, so how that's a good bad guy, I guess, for a young college student whose town's being taken over by this corporation. So I like that dynamic. That can go places, but it didn't feel like it was that dynamic was written in because those two didn't have any interaction, right? Susan Sarandon fired him, but like she didn't have any. She had more interaction with Jenny Cord. So there's just like this gap between the main villain and the hero. It's like if Lex Luthor never talked to Clark Kent. Like that would be weird, right? If
Yeah.
the two never interacted.
I mean, that's a that yeah. So my nitpicks are going to be the villains, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you raised a point that I wasn't even thinking about. So now you added more fuel to the fire. Yeah, her interaction with the main protagonist was 0 to maybe 2%. It was mostly with her aunt who became, I mean, her niece who became part of the hero team, including the family, which was cute. And even to the moment where she's about to kill her in the chopper, I'm like, man, you really are pushing this villain.
Right, she
If
definitely.
only your dad was here to see this. I was like, what? Like, what happened to this family? This is our family legacy.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's my problem with this. It's the CGI and the villains are my major problem.
Right.
Wow, now we're not in grades yet, but my grades start to slip now that you're illuminating a couple things.
Well, and we have Carapax, who he just plays a very staid, henchman bad guy who has equal powers to the hero. But then, in the middle of the final fight, or near the end of the final fight, you get this flashback for him that shows him that Victoria Cord basically made him.
Yeah, you get a little Reagan story there for those who don't remember
Yeah,
the '80s and
her
America's involvement in Central America.
Yeah, her literally physically in the jungle after like killing locals, killing indigenous people and going steal the children. I'm going to make an army. Like that's some next level evil that I mean that could be an interesting story on its own, I guess if they're willing to go there, then go there. Just freaking hit that hard. But they waited to the very end, flashback, and now he's not a villain anymore. Now he understands everything, and now he kills her. Like, so it's like the Blue Beetle character never got to actually battle the real villain of the movie. He was always
Correct.
separated from that.
I think this movie, and again, this is fresh because we're talking about it right now, wasn't really focused on having him fight an opponent or antagonist. It was more about him finding himself. Because when we first meet him, we opened the podcast talking about when we first see Jaime coming off the plane and his family, like we don't quite know who this character is. We know he just graduated Gotham Law, which I thought was his undergrad and not law school.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it is undergrad.
That's details. And he's finding himself now with his family coming back from school. And I think the entire arc, then he loses his dad in a tragic way, and his parent and his family steps up. He in the middle of that, he finds a girl who just happens to be Jennifer Cord. They kind of have some romantic thing.
Nice to find a rich girl, right? When you're
then he goes into of course. Like I like how they were using that as a joke from one of the telenovelas that was like the gender swapped rich white dude and like little freaking what do you call it, Cinderella Asian Latina girl. And then there's the moment in the movie, which you didn't bring, but we don't really have to get deep into it, when he's in the netherworld and he's seeing his dad's spirit. And his dad kind of gives him a little inspiration for him to connect with what the hell did you call the actual scarab? It had a name. It wasn't kaiju. It was like...
Oh, yeah, I got it right
here.
Kajida.
Kajida. So once he can mind melds with the Kajida, he understands himself more. So listen, again, it happens to one of the superhero movies where, like, for example, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like the first movie, it wasn't really Vulture that was his nemesis. It was him, like, learning from the Civil War and understanding that he's Spider-Man and his role in this new universe that happens to have this villain Vulture that was, connected with him and his girlfriend. I think this character and this movie was another example of that, where it's not so much the villain, although Vulture was a great villain, but he wasn't the driving force for Peter in that movie. It was more like the suit and his friends and trying to go through high school. I think this movie was another version of that. Like, if you could kind of slightly push aside the antagonist, the bad writing for them, and just focus on Jaime and his family and getting the suit and understanding, himself and what he means to his, the community and what he can do with it post college. That's a better movie. Sad to say that's not how the movie was given to us, but that's a better movie.
Yeah, that's true. I get it. I hope that they give some of these heroes a chance to general hero. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of
go back to the comic books, buddy.
Right. There's a lot of DC killing bad guys, but not a lot of just general heroing. I'm gonna get some comments about that. Superman did. I saw him do it. All right. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I hear you. You're right.
Let's call out a couple of fun scenes that people should look for, or that we really enjoyed, that stuck out to us. So for me, it's going to be Grandma with a minigun. I love
the
that.
trailers should have kept that hidden.
They should have, but when she dropped the braids, our entire theater laughed. They all went, "Oh yeah!" So they were all excited.
Some folks would say George Lopez was like a standout to them. To me, really, it was Grandma. And I gotta look up the actress and see what else she's been in. I think I've seen her before, but she was definitely, and that wasn't even the best scene for me. That's your best scene, but go ahead.
Right? Yeah. What stuck out to you?
No, when she was sitting there and talking to them, and she was like, "I gotta tell you about my past." No, in a cave. Yeah. It's like Viva la Revolutionary. I'm like, that is dope. Like, I see on like a Che Guevara T-shirt.
And it just takes that. Just a few words to give Grandma this huge, mysterious backstory.
And then at the end, she goes, "Now we can cry and grieve for her son." Everything was like chef's kiss with her character, dude.
Absolutely. So yeah, I really do liked how they built the family and everything they did with the family, carried the film, but it wasn't the only good thing in the film. But yeah, I think this is a strong movie. Unfortunately, it came too little, too late for the DCEU. But I think any good characters are going to flow forward.
Oh, hold on! Another good scene, just real quick, because we're running late. His transformation, the first time he gets to scare her.
Oh yeah,
that was some like American Werewolf in London type of.
That was good.
But CGI, obviously CGI, not like the practical effects that they did for American Werewolf. But you know how the painful, like it's not Iron Man and Avengers Infinity War. Where did you get that? He goes, takes his glasses off, and it is painful and like debilitating that he's transforming into this bug and
burning
his clothes
off. He's got stuff in the ceiling.
Like, I don't even think the Hulk's transformation was as bad as this. Just looks terrible.
Yeah, we didn't see a first Hulk transformation, but yeah, it was a fun way to do an unexpected way to do a superhero transformation. Normally you got like the magic girl Superman transformation or what do you call it?
Nanotech or whatever.
Yeah, like anything like that, where they just kind of stand up and all of a sudden, like, it just appears slowly along the body. The Green Lantern,
He-Man and She-Ra.
Yeah, exactly. So it was good, unexpected, fun part of the movie, and yeah. All right, we'll do grades. We don't want to beat this to death.
Yeah, we're giving Mike a lot of work here. I haven't even.
We are giving him more work.
Cut for advertisement and commercials.
He can cut some of that out. All right. Do you want to go first? What's your grade?
Yeah, let me go first. Man, I went into this podcast with one grade in my head, but after, going back and forth with you, I think I'm gonna go down from an A- to a B+.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah, the antagonists and the villains really stole some of the thunder I had when I left the movie theater. The more I think about the villains, the more I feel like, oh, this wasn't as high as I really thought in my mind. Um, so
There's
yeah, B plus.
Yeah, I agree. There's some pacing issues. I think there was this kind of a d- dead dead section in the middle where they're like hiding out in Jenny Cord's old house, and she's got to tell her backstory. Now she was an
Yeah, the
important.
painting or a mom. Yeah.
I mean, she's an important character, but it really does kind of suck the life out of the movie a little bit. And I didn't like that he wasn't interacting at all with the villains. I'm gonna go B plus as well. I think,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I know
Was
it's
that your
hard.
original grade before we started talking about this,
Yeah,
or
yeah, it was a
okay?
bit. It was right there, just because it's all just such a strong viewpoint of the world, culture for within this DC universe, uh, and great actors giving great performances, and it really made me hate Black Adam that much more because this is what I
I can't
wanted.
believe some people, including my buddy Yusuf, if you're watching this podcast, is out here thinking Black Adam was a better movie than this
If
movie.
what I said when we watched Black Adam is I said I want this to take a stand on the people who live here and the people who are invading this home and do something with that. It's a strong storyline. It's sitting right there in the first half of the movie, but they went to this weird, terrible, generic
See,
second half, and I don't
yeah,
think they did
meanwhile,
that here.
no,
I
because
think
this movie unapologetically told a story about a marginalized group of people in a community with superpower. With one of them having
right.
superpowers. So what that means is they made it real. Like he's got to go through certain things that the average person is not going to go through, who's not of that community, not of that
Mm-hmm.
background. And it was front and center. It wasn't like quote unquote woke. I hate
Right.
using that term because they're not using it properly, but you know what I mean. When people now watching superhero movies or Star Wars, they keep throwing out, "Oh, this is woke because all these females and all these people of color." No, it felt like it was an actual real world for those of us who are, from the minority background. You understand some of these jokes. You understand that the fact that they're switching between Spanglish and English
Mm-hmm.
um, back and forth, and it didn't feel like it was part of the script. This is where you read in Spanish. This is where you talk in English because
Right.
we got to get a certain amount of percentage, diversity. No, it felt like it was like authentic and
Mm-hmm.
genuine, and
And
I love
funny,
that.
the scene where the Cord Company police uh like basically break into the family's house while he's not there,
Oh my God,
basically
ice.
like an ice raid. I was just like, yeah, like, that they did a great job creating that fear and tension in you watching this horror show
And you
unfold in
see the
front of you.
family locking hands and trying to keep track of each other, dude. That's
it
that's real world. That's not
it
a.
it's visceral, and it's something that it just elevates this movie. That scene, I could almost push it into the A minus territory with that scene if you wanted. That's fine. It was one of those scene that sticks in your head, and you rarely get those. You know.
One last thing. Shout out to my man from What We Do in the Shadows. If Mike was here, he would know.
Oh
He plays
God,
Guillermo on that show, and then he was De La
yes.
Cruz, but they kept calling him Sanchez.
Oh, I couldn't believe it when he pulled out the full name. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
and by the way, this movie started off campy like an MCU, and then in the middle and third act, people were dying like blood.
mm,
Like when George Lopez got into that machine spider, he was actually stepping
he
through some
was.
of the soldiers,
Yeah,
and
those
then
guys are
Guillermo,
fast.
Guillermo, his murder scene, his death scene, all
That was
those
bad. Splatter on
very
the wall.
splatter. So interesting. Yeah, this. I see your DC is back moniker there.
Yeah.
You might be right. You
I
might be
don't know.
right, man.
I'm catching up on the Harley Quinn animated series as well.
Well, the animation never went anywhere. They were always up front. They were better than Marvel, actually.
I
It's not the problem.
finished My Adventures with Superman. So yeah, the DC animations.
Oh, I haven't watched that. I only watched the first episode of that one.
Got me in positivity. All right, that should be it for tonight. Hey, if you want to talk to us, if you want to send a message, if you just meet us on, we got our Facebook, we got our Instagram, we got our TikTok, we got our Twitter. Yes, it's still Twitter. Come chat. Give opinions. Tell us what you think. Like us on YouTube. Comment on YouTube. That's how we get anywhere in this business.
Tell me you really believe this movie was not better than Black Adam.
I want to hear
us.
that. I want to hear exactly what about Black Adam you like that's better than this. And if you just say because he punched real good, then I'm going to laugh at you, by the way. I need something more. I need something more. All right.
Terrible.
James, thanks for joining me, for spending a little bit longer than we had planned on Blue Beetle.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry.
Mike. All right. We will talk to you guys soon. We'll be back. Have a nice night.
Alrighty.
Hey, Indigo made the beat.